Hello, my name is Anna Rausch. I am a Senior Project Manager with the Coalition for the Homeless, and welcome to the 2018 Homeless Count and Survey Volunteer Training. Thank you again for joining me this morning. I'm going to go over all of the things that we're going to be covering during the point in time this year. We obviously we're not in face to face, so it's going to be a little bit more informal, but if you have any questions, feel free to let me know. I will either unmute you or you can type your question into the chat box and I'll keep an eye on that. So we're going to go over the methodology for this year. For those of you that are new, this is going to be important to you. For those of you that have participated in the past, we have changed things up a little bit. So if you haven't been involved with our Harvey recovery efforts, this is all going to be new to you. So please, we have a training booklet that we put together with all of this information. And if you're able to stop by either the office or our next two trainings to pick one up, it's valuable to have with you. I'll also have some at the staging locations the morning of the count, as well as the shirts. We are asking that we require everyone wear t-shirts while you're participating in the count. So if you're not able to come to one of the trainings to, hang on just a second, let me try to increase. So some people have called in. Is it better if I put the audio to the mic closer to my mouth? Does that work better, Bella? Okay, great. Okay, sorry about that. I will keep the mic closer. So as I was saying, we will have the t-shirts available at one of the staging locations that morning, and I will also have them at the next two trainings, which will be on Thursday. If you happen to be at our office for a meeting anytime this week or Monday, feel free to pick one up at that time as well. So as I was mentioning, we have some things that are different this year with the homeless count. So it's really important that everyone participate in the training so that they'll know what's going on. And also to practice with the app so that the day of everything's, ready to go. So some statistics from our 2017 homeless count. We've done an amazing job over the years of reducing homelessness in our community. So on January 23rd last year in 2017, our count was 3,605 people, and that is Houston, Harris County, Fort Bend, and Montgomery counties. The Coalition for the Homeless is the lead agency of our continuum of care, which encompasses these 3 counties as well as the city limits of Houston. So it's about 3,700 square miles. It's a large area to cover. Montgomery County joined our COC for the first time for the count in 2017. And even with the addition of Montgomery County, as you can see, we have had a significant decrease since 2011, 60% decrease in the homeless numbers since 2011. The executive summary and all of the information regarding our point in time, as well, such as demographics, specific information about the reduction in numbers, can be found on our website. If you're so interested to go and read it, it's actually kind of interesting. So, and then from there, we kind of broke it down a little bit, and we're trying to end chronic homelessness hopefully this year. So 1 in 4 were identified as chronically homeless. We didn't have any unsheltered chronically homeless family. We did have 1 in shelter. 2 in 5 had substance abuse problems. 1 in 3 had mental health issues. 1 in 7 was a veteran, which is great. We believe that about 2/3 are in shelters, and our veteran numbers remain at a steady state level, which is what we expected since we announced the end of veteran homelessness back in June of 2015. So why do we count? For those of you that have been doing this for a while, you know why we count. But for those of you that are new, we count for a variety of reasons. Number 1 is because HUD says we have to. On a given night in January, we have to do this, and we've actually gotten a waiver from HUD to do it over a 3-day period because we've decreased our numbers so much since 2011. But we use this information for a lot of other things. It's important to us because not only does it show how important, how well we have done in reducing homelessness in our community, but it also gives us paints a little bit of a picture of what's needed to continue to end homelessness. So we determine our progress, our success. The amount of money that comes into our COC is determined by our homeless numbers. That's federal, state, and local. So Harris County, Montgomery County, Fort Bend County funding, Texas state funding, city level government funding. All of that is, those are all types of funding that funnels into our system. We can also determine some subpopulations. So for example, in Houston, we don't have a huge number of homeless youth, but the numbers that we do have kind of helped us shape what type of assistance we provide, not only to youth, but to veterans, domestic violence survivors, et cetera. And then it also helps us to find locations, what we call hotspots. So encampments, areas where there's a heavy concentration of homeless people residing, so that we can target our outreach better to those locations. Coordinated access, I'm not going to read you the definition. I'm mentioning it right now because we do use coordinated access in our point in time in our homeless count. Coordinated access is the only way that an individual can access housing in our continuum of care, and that is permanent supportive housing or rapid rehousing, which is what is referred to as temporary assistance. So coordinated access is what we call it, but it's known by coordinated entry or centralized coordinated process. Every place, depending on the geographic location, calls it a little bit different, but it's basically one assessment process that an individual goes through to access housing, and they can access this assessment process through various entry points in our community. And we are going to use this method to assess people during the homeless count. So quick snapshot of coordinated access. We now have 13 hubs, the access points that I mentioned, most of our shelter locations. We have a few drop-in centers such as the Beacon, ACE Foundation Houston, Northwest Assistance Ministries. We have all of our outreach teams are dedicated to coordinated access. That means that they can access and navigate folks in the field. We do have a call-in option that is managed by the City of Houston. So providers that have a client that needs to be assessed for housing can call with the individual over the phone to get them assessed. So we have people calling from the hospitals, social workers calling from the hospitals. We also have social workers calling from the jail systems to get folks assessed for housing. Everything is done through our HMIS system. That stands for Homeless Management Information System. That is the online database that we use to keep track of all of the homeless and non-homeless, but also services, and everything that goes on in our community is captured in HMIS. And if you receive any type of HUD funding, it is required that you use HMIS. And so everything regarding coordinated access happens in HMIS. The matching to permanent supportive housing, the matching to rapid rehousing, the consent, the vulnerability tools that we use that help us to prioritize who goes next into housing. We have 20 plus navigators that are dedicated to the system, and what they do is they help people navigate the sometimes very convoluted and complex way to get into completing an application or finding a landlord that will accept them, etc. All of the matching, the bed availability, the referral, everything happens in HMIS, so there is no paper involved, and the clients don't have to repeat their story over and over again, because we try to capture as much information as we can and keep it in the system. So a quick overview of where, when, and how we are counting. As I mentioned, prior to 2016, we used to count one night in January, and it was always at night, and people drove in their cars, and they drove throughout the city to count individuals that they thought might be experiencing homelessness. We had a few specialized outreach teams that would do some outreach to get demographic breakdown, and we would also do surveys at the Beacon afterwards. But prior to the 2016 count, we wanted to expand our count a little bit more so that we could gather better information. And so HUD, we petitioned HUD for permission, and they granted us permission to do the count over a 3-day period and during the day, and to do it more of an interview approach instead of just counting. So day one is going to be inside the 610 loop. We have as you can imagine, a very dense concentration in the 610 loop. So that day, that area deserves a day all to itself. On day 2, we count east of 45 and 288 in East Montgomery County. Day 3, we count west of 45 and 288, West Montgomery County, and then all of Fort Bend County. We do this every year in January for 2018. The dates are going to be next Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. The official night of the count that we report to HUD will be Monday, the 22nd. And this is important for those of you that are doing surveys because that's how you are going to ask the question, and we'll get into that a little bit more. You're going to get a designated map area. Some of you registered as part of a team, so I did keep you with that team. And so your team will receive a map area, and then you will take that map area and you will drive through that area, you will walk through that area, and you will interview people that you believe may be experiencing homelessness. Oops, sorry. All right. This year it's going to be a little bit more informal. So if you've participated in the past, you know that we use tablets. We're not doing tablets this year. So in the 2 years that we used the tablets, it was more important to really be specific about who was going to be the driver, who was going to be the surveyor, who was going to be the spotter, etc. Because we don't have the tablets this year, it's really up to the team in question. I know that some people did request to be drivers, and that's okay. I tried to put you as a driver if at all possible, but some of the teams had already been formed, and so I had to put 2 drivers in a team together if there weren't enough people to form a team. And so you can decide amongst your team who you want to drive. If you indicated you wanted to be a driver and you are on a team that already has a driver, that's okay. If you do not feel comfortable participating as far as interviewing, you can help with locating, you can help with navigating, you can help in other ways. Some teams will have multiple surveyors, and again, that's anyone who feels comfortable doing the interviews is fine. I really don't want there to be any team. We prefer teams of 4. There's going to be teams of 3 because I already see that we didn't have enough registrations for a couple of the staging areas. But I really, really stress that it shouldn't be less, should not be less than 3 people. And that's because sometimes you can get bombarded by a location, and it's really best to have more than one person looking out for each other. Each team should have someone who has a cell phone, and you're going to be using that for the purpose of the count. We may have to contact you for whatever reason to tell you to come back or to ask you to go to a different location. So someone on the team should leave their cell phone information with the staging area captain. And then we might send text messages and call in with you to check to make sure everything's going okay. And then we will provide you with the map, and we also will have street guides that can be provided to homeless individuals. And on the street guide, we have resources available for shelter, etc. Drivers, very self-explanatory. Someone that has insurance on their vehicle, a 4-door vehicle is preferable because you may end up having 5 people on your team. The navigator will use the map, so someone who's very familiar with the city, someone who is comfortable using maps, someone who has a good sense of direction should be the one that is navigating your team. You feel free to use your phone to navigate through the area. We are using key map sections, and we are aware that our city changes on almost a weekly basis as far as new construction goes. So some of the areas on the key map it may no longer apply. So just be aware of that, especially as you get further out into the rural areas of the counties. And then of course the navigator can also help in finding homeless people. The surveyor is going to use technology in the field via a mobile app, which can be downloaded to your phone, or it can be downloaded to your personal device, such as a tablet. It can also be done on the internet. So if you have a small laptop and you have access to internet in the field, you feel free to take it with you. The Counting Us app is available via the web. So the spotter will look for homeless people on the streets. They'll help the navigator. And again, anyone that feels comfortable interviewing people can act as a surveyor. We are not requiring that it just be service providers as in previous years. The reason why we required that is because we had tablets that had to be checked out, and we had user names and passwords that had to be assigned that was not done by us. So it had to be more specific, but this year we're not going to require that. So if you feel comfortable enough to interview someone with your phone, by all means do so. Some teams will have a coordinated access trained assessor. I'm trying to put those on teams that are going to some pretty heavily concentrated areas, so dense population of homeless people. Because we want anyone that is a veteran, young adult, or chronically homeless to be assessed for housing on the spot so that we can be aware of where they are, and they can be in our pipeline for housing. So what do you need? You need a charged phone. This is very important. I will have some extension cords or some plugs available for people to plug in their phone when they get there that morning. You're going to download the Counting Us app from either the Google Play or the App Store. We're going to get to that in just a minute. Register an account and log in. You can put your work address, email address. You can put your personal email address. It does not matter, whichever you feel most comfortable. And then you create your own password. So please make it something that you're not going to forget. You're going to enter the project key for our region, which is Houston 18. You're going to tap Get Started to get to the screen which displays the list of surveys and select Houston Pitt 2018. And again, I'm going to post this instructions online, and we have it in our booklet. And I'm also going to have it the morning of at the staging areas in case someone still has questions. Select HUD Pitt interview for anyone willing to be interviewed, and then you're going to select HUD Pitt observation for anyone not willing to be interviewed or if the location is too hard to get to. And by that I mean if someone is on the other side of a bridge and you have to cross a highway to get to it, or you don't know how they got there, but you can see that there's two people there, a man and a woman in their mid-40s. We want you to do an observation. We don't want you to try to hurt yourself and put yourself in any danger to try to get to that location. The app does capture longitude and latitude, so please make sure that you enable location services on your phone or on your device while you are using the app. So this is what the app looks like. It's blue with the check mark, and it's check us is essentially what it is. So if I can get you all, as we're doing this, to go ahead and go to whatever app store pertains to your device, either Google Play or the App Store, and find this app. And if you're going to be a surveyor, go ahead and download it to your phone, and you can create a user ID and password. As I mentioned, your email address can be your personal or your work email. The Houston 18 is the setup key. And right now, our pit is in test mode. So that means that all of the information that is entered from now until the morning of the count is going to be removed because it is in test mode. So I ask that as you are creating clients that you use the name test in either the first name or the last name, the middle name, however you would like. So for example, if I'm practicing, I'm going to enter Anna test or test Anna. Let's see, you have a question. I have the app already downloaded, but I'm trying on the phone that has the app. Yes, so if you've done this before and you deleted the app on your phone and you have a different device or you're going on the web, it's the same user ID and password that you've used. So if you don't want to leave this on your phone from day to day, you want to delete it and you want to put it back, it's going to be the same user ID and password. Is that what you're asking, Erica? Here, let me unmute you. Erica? Erica?
That's good.
Okay, good. Okay, so do I need to leave this up here a little bit longer, or does everybody have what the app looks like? I'm gonna just type it into the chat box if you need me to leave it on a little bit longer. Okay, and I'm happy to come back to the screen if you need further assistance. So as I mentioned, you can pick any of these. You can pick the sheltered survey, the observational survey. I'm sorry, not the sheltered. You're not going to use sheltered survey because that's going to be that's for people in the shelter. I apologize. It's going to be the observational or the unsheltered survey. And you're going to complete the questions in its entirety. It's just very, very important that you answer every single question in its entirety. The screen that you see in front of you right now, this is if you were using the app on the web. So you would actually go, oops, sorry. Yes, the question is, will I be providing the slides for those who are on the call? And the answer is yes. I will email this out to everyone when we are done. If you want to use your own personal tablet and you have internet on there, then you can go to counting.us and use your same user ID and password. It works the exact same way as if you would be using it on your phone. And sometimes I know that there's a few people that might be stationary, so that's okay. You can use this on the web. So once you complete all of the questions on the survey, and again, it's very important that you answer every single question if you're going to be interviewing. The very last part of the survey is a comments field, and I want everyone to really focus on this slide in front of you. If someone is in an encampment, then what we want is for you to put yes or no for encampment. That is the only thing we want written into that field. Please do not enter notes into this field. Do not enter client data into this field. Do not enter case notes. I know a lot of you are service providers and you want to do some service provision on the field. We really need you to not put any information in this field because we're going to be sorted. We're going to be sorting the information from this last field to determine if there are encampments and where they are. And so we really don't want any other information in that field aside from yes or no to the encampment question. So if I approach a group of individuals in the woods off of I-10 and there's a whole bunch of them and there's an encampment there, I'm going to survey every single person there, and at the end I'm going to put yes because there's an encampment. If they were not in an encampment, then I would put no or leave it blank. The longitude and latitude is captured on the app. So when you are starting and you're practicing, you'll notice that there's a map that displays. It is capturing your location, which is why I mentioned that you should have location services enabled on your phone so that it can capture the longitude and latitude. So it's not necessary to put a location or cross streets in this field. Does anybody have any questions about that? There's no issue with anyone using their personal phone for this app. That is correct. I'm going to talk a little bit about how much space and everything is used in a little bit. So it's not a problem with anyone using your personal devices. It doesn't capture anything about what device you're using or anything of that nature. It just gives us the information on the client. Be familiar with the homeless definitions. The ones that we deal with the most are sheltered homeless, unsheltered homeless, and chronic homeless. The reason why is because if someone is living in a shelter, you don't want to interview them that day. When I mentioned that January 22nd is the day that we will be referring to, as you are interviewing someone on the street, you're going to ask them, where did you sleep Monday night? You're not going to ask them where you were that night. The night that you encounter them, you're going to ask them, where did you spend Monday night? Where did you sleep the Monday of January 22nd? And the reason being is that we want to make sure that people are not being counted twice, because you can have someone that spent the night in a shelter Monday night, but then you may see them on the streets on Wednesday, and we don't want you to count them because on Monday night they were in shelter. So they're going to be captured in the sheltered count. And then for chronic homelessness, we want you to be aware of what this means, because anyone that is chronically homeless, we want to have assessed. So if there is a coordinated access assessor in your group, we want that person to be assessed on the spot. If you do not have a coordinated access assessor in your group, then you would give the individual a street guide with instructions on where to go to be assessed. This is a sample map. As I mentioned, we use key map sections, and they're laminated, and they have been sectioned off, and they have been, some of the areas that you're not supposed to cover will be X'd off, as you can see on this map. And then you'll either be, this one has an A-B section, probably because of the location. There's a lot of places to cover. And so one team will get section A and one team will get section B. That means that you should not count outside of your section. Okay, so how do you know that they're homeless? These are the different characteristics. In poor physical condition, hygiene, weathered skin, lots of personal belongings, sleeping or lying on the ground, benches, parkways, pushing a cart, tents, blankets. Sometimes in vehicles, you'll see that there's vehicles with a lot of stuff in them and someone sleeping inside. We're going to be starting early in the morning, so there will be people asleep. All right, do's and don'ts. please report to your staging location on time. It's really important because we don't want your team members to have to wait on you. And sometimes what happens is that if it takes you too long to get there, then the team will end up leaving. And so you get there and there's not a team to place you with, or the teams are all full, so you end up not having a team to go on. 6:30. 6:30 a.m. Thank you for the question. The question is what time? 6:30. Please stay with your team. Keep doors locked. Be on the lookout for homeless presence. Sometimes you may drive by a location and there's a pallet there, but no one there. The person may have gone to go get something to eat, and they may be back in a couple of hours. So please go through that area again. You can also ask other people that are around if there are any homeless people living around this area. If you see a place, for example, behind a gas station where there's some pallets, you can ask the gas station attendant where the individuals are and where they typically hang out. It's probably it is a good idea to get together and kind of study your map area and try to develop a way to go and maybe work your way in. Some people like to work their way out. It all depends on the team. Everyone is different. Use your best judgment. No. So the question is, can we feed someone if they ask us for food? The answer is no. We do have a street guide, and I'm going to talk a little bit about a service that the mayor's office is offering. In previous years, we did offer a couple of no, not water either. Now, I'm going to say this: we are not going to be providing water. Some of you are part of agencies, then you're going to be in an outreach vehicle, and you're used to doing that. If you have that available, and that is something that your agency provides, then yes, go ahead and do that. But we, as in the coalition, is not going to be providing water or any kind of incentives. And this is, we've done this for many years and it works out just fine. But we are going to have an option available for shelter that the mayor's office has presented us with. And I'll talk about that in a little bit. Alrighty, don't allow one team member to leave the vehicle alone, meaning don't go off on your own. Don't take risks. Don't venture too far outside your boundary. Don't go outside your map areas. Don't give money or rides. Don't overestimate how many people may be in an encampment. Try to get as close as possible. Don't offer services or housing. Don't forget to turn in all your paperwork. Don't double count. Don't touch people to wake them up. Don't assume. Unfortunately, if a person tells you that they do not have a disability, do not record it, even if their appearance symptoms may indicate otherwise. And for those of you that are experienced service providers, I will say this: sometimes there are individuals that are just so severely mentally ill that or on some kind of substance that they are not able to communicate. So for those, they will be observational, and you, or if they are able to give you some information but not all, then in those instances, I would be okay with the service provider reporting a substance use or a mental illness. And then on here, we have a little bit of a script that you can follow. Everyone is different. You do not have to go by this at all. It's sometimes, if you've never done this before, it can seem a little bit intimidating, but as I mentioned, we've done this before, and I've not really had anybody not willing to talk to me when I've been out in the field and trying to do these surveys. So just introduce yourself. You're going to be wearing bright green or neon yellow. I can't even remember what those shirts, what color they are, but coalition or homeless count shirts. And you can just introduce yourself and let them know that you're a volunteer with the Coalition for the Homeless. And then you can either ask if they'd be willing to be interviewed. You can ask them if they're homeless. You can ask if there's other people in the area that are homeless. Whichever you feel more comfortable. Just follow the script or don't follow it. It's up to you. But we do have that as an option in case you are, a little bit intimidated. Please do not shine a flashlight on someone. Shine it towards yourself. As I mentioned, you're going to start a little bit early, so it might be still dark, and if it's bad weather like today, it may be darker longer. The question is, how many questions are on the survey? I don't remember, actually. I'm sorry, Erica. It's not very long. It's not like we had before where we're asking specific questions about, you know, what area they became homeless. We took all of that out because we didn't use it for anything in the past. So we wanted to be as easy as possible. So we are just using the standard HUD pick questions. So when you go through that, I think you'll be happy. It's real easy. These are some teams in action in the past. Be respectful. Ask if you can enter into their space because that is their home. Some FAQs about the app. What happens if I don't have cell reception? You can save the survey as a draft and you can submit it once you have a signal. So again, please feel free to practice as much as you'd like on this app. Meralda, you have a question. Let me unmute you real quick. Okay, go ahead. Esmeralda? Oh, you're muted. Yeah, go ahead. Yeah, okay, go ahead.
There's 27 questions on the survey. Sorry. Oh, I was just answering her.
Oh, cool. Thank you so much. How much data can you expect the app to use? So 30 surveys uses less data than streaming a single 4-minute long song. So for those of you that do streaming, that's what it uses. And then how much space will it take on your phone or device? It's less than 6 megabytes. So just to get an idea, 300 emails is 100 megabytes. So it's very, very small. When you go to download it, it doesn't take any time at all. It just is really fast. The next question, my friend is going to staging area 1, but I registered at staging area 2. Can I go to my friend's staging area? And the answer is no. Unfortunately, this cannot be accommodated. We had volunteers register by staging location this year, and that is because last year people ended up not showing up for the count at some of the staging areas, and so some teams, multiple teams at some of the staging areas were given multiple maps, and that was a lot of burden for them to have to drive all over the city. And so we really are requiring that people register by staging location, and then once the cap is reached for that staging location, the registration is no longer available. So if you go to a staging location for which you did not register, you will not be on a team because the teams are being pre-assigned. And then the last question that we get asked a lot is, my team finished our map area, can we count in another? So no. As I mentioned, the maps have already been sectioned off and each team should cover their own area. We don't want any kind of double counting, so we risk that happening if you go to someone else's area, another team's area. So sometimes what we would do is, if there's a team that didn't show up, or if there's a team that's taking a long time, the staging area captain, you can go back and they may have you go and finish the rest of that team's location by sectioning off the map for you. So we will be giving you a street guide. I'll have copies available at the staging locations. Here's my phone number, the HPD Homeless Outreach, Harris County, Fort Bend Emergency Assistance. All of this is information that we will have available for you and at the staging locations. And then before we go into questions, I'm going to real quick show you this. So last year, at the very last minute, the mayor's office let us know that they were going to be providing transportation assistance for anyone willing to go to shelter or the sobering center on the days of the count. But they did it so last minute that we didn't have enough time to let everybody know. They didn't tell me in enough time to tell people that came to the training. So this time they're going to do it again, and they gave me the information and enough time to mention. I'm going to have this handout available for each team at the staging locations. Basically, what the mayor's office is doing is that during the hours between 8 and 4, from that Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, anyone that is wanting to go to either shelter, a workforce solutions office for employment counseling, or the Houston Recovery Center, aka the Sobering Center, you can contact this number, which is right now it's Sean's work number, Sean with the mayor's office, and you will let them know that you have somebody interested, and these are the instructions that you should follow. and then you should let the individual know to please stay in that area, in that location, so that the driver can find them when they get there, and then they will be transported to shelter or to one of the locations of their choice. So this is really important for those of you that are concerned about not being able to provide any kind of incentive, food, water. These are some things that you can do. This is an option for anyone wanting to get off the streets, especially if it's a cold day. So we will have this information printed out and you can take it with you. All right, any questions? I'm going to put up my phone number and email address. Does anybody have any questions about anything that we're doing for the count? Let me go back one more time and put the survey information up there. So again, it's called the Counting Us app. And it looks like a little circle with the check in the middle and us, the word US. And the setup key for Houston is Houston 18. And then there's only one count available. Once you top that in, you'll see Houston, I can't remember if it's called Houston 2018 PIT. And then you can practice, try to remember to use test in the name of the individual. And you can practice both observational and non-observational surveys. And you can also practice on the web. If you want to do it on your computer, it's the same questions you can practice on. Okay. All right, thank you guys. Any questions last time before I hang up? Yes, please download the app. Everyone, well, I apologize. If you are going to be interviewing, then you should download the app. If you are not going to be interviewing, then you should not download the app. Here is my phone number and email address again. This is my office number. My work number, my cell phone number is here. 832-656-1904. Please feel free to text me if you have any questions the morning of. So the days to attend, it depends on if you register. The question is, what are the required days to attend? So we're going to be counting Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. But we had registration set up by the different days. So if you signed up for day 1, then you're responsible to show up on Tuesday for whichever staging location you signed up at, 6:30 to 4. If you signed up on Wednesday, and if you sign up on Thursday, the same things apply. If you are a COC funded agency, you are required to have a minimum of 2 people participate each day. Does that answer your question? Okay. Okay, any other questions? Yes, so the shirts will be available. Can you still get a t-shirt? You can. I'm going to have them at each staging location the morning of the count. I will also have them at Thursdays, both of Thursday's trainings. You don't have to come to the training if you've already done this, but if you're going to be near the United Way between 2 and 4 on Thursday, and then near 601 Sawyer, which is the City of Houston offices, from 6 to 8, between 6 and 7:30ish. I don't think we'll go all the way to 8. I'll have the shirts there with me. Yes, you can have another staff member pick it up for everyone at your agency. If you're going to be at the coalition offices for a meeting anytime this week or on Monday, or if you just drive by, feel free to come up and come in through the HMIS side. As you get off the elevators, it's opposite the front entrance, and the shirts are there. But we'll have them that morning. Alrighty. Thank you guys so much, and stay warm. Don't get out there driving around. Everyone take care. Bye-bye.